So I want to tell you about one of the martyrs, Christian martyrs from Smyrna, and his name was Polycarp, and he was one of the priests, one of the pastors of the Smyrna church. Okay, and so you can see the time period when he was alive here. So he actually was a disciple of the Apostle John. So he knew John personally. He was a student of John's. So this is very, very personal. Okay, so you can see in 155 AD, he died because he was martyred for his Christian faith. All right, so I want to tell you the story of Polycarp. So he was martyred when he was 86 years old. And earlier, when he was younger, he had a vision of his pillow engulfed in flames. And so he knew from that vision, God was telling him that he was eventually going to be burned at the stake. And so this was during a time when there was great persecution of the Christians. This was during a time when you saw that picture of that beautiful Colosseum, that beautiful theater in Smyrna. Well, they marched Christians into that, and they burned them at the stake, and they threw them to wild animals. And hundreds, thousands of people would come and sit in that Colosseum, and they would cheer and they would watch Christians being brutally tortured and martyred. So this was a brutal, terrible time for the early Christians. So when Polycarp was 86 years old, he was arrested. And so as the soldiers arrested him, he is at this time very old, very feeble. I cannot imagine that such brutal soldiers could have ever had a moment of compassion. But for some reason, they begged Polycarp, please, Polycarp, all you have to do is denounce your faith, denounce your Christian faith, and say Caesar is Lord. That's all you have to do. They begged him. All you have to do is say Caesar is Lord, and we will let you go. They begged and begged. And here's what Polycarp said. He said, for 86 years I have served Jesus. How dare I now revile my king? And so they marched him into the Colosseum. And as they were tying him up, they were marching him in, and then all of the Christians who were there heard the voice of God say, Polycarp, be strong, Polycarp. So the voice of God was strengthening Polycarp as he was walking into the arena. And so as they were tying him up to the stake to burn him alive, he spoke to the executioners, and he said this. He said, it is well. I fear not the fire that burns for a season and after a while is quenched. Why do you delay? Come, do your will. So he was encouraging the executioners. And so he would not denounce his Christianity. And as they started the fire, Polycarp lifted his head and he prayed. And he said, I thank you, Lord, that you have graciously thought me worthy of this day and of this hour, that I may receive a portion in the number of the martyrs in the cup of your Christ. And as the flames rose up, they would not touch the body of Polycarp. It was like the angels were holding him back. There was like this force field, and the flames were going up around his body and not touching him. He wasn't being burned at all. And they went up and then up above him. And so he wasn't getting burned. Finally, one of the executioners took a spear and stabbed Polycarp to death. And that is how he died. And here I have a picture of him as they are lighting the fire. They stabbed him to death, and after they stabbed him, so much blood poured out of his body that it put out the flames. And the people sitting there, a lot of people said that they saw a dove ascending from his body as he died. So that is one of the most well-known martyrs from the church of Smyrna.